Previously, Lyoncio, Commander Bai, Lai Chunying, and Kinyu met concerning Lyoncio's request for backup at the Shining Gold City. They have a limitation regarding the person that would lead the soldiers to the city, and Lyoncio suggested that Dashin, King Wang, and Zhang Lishan could handle the task. Prince Kinyu was shocked. Kinyu says it's impossible as his teacher would never involve himself in political affairs, and will only make a move when the 100 Battles country's main army approaches the capital. However, Lyoncio tells him that he doesn't need Zhang Lishan to make a move and reminds him of what happened 60 years ago in the Tianshui country, when the dean of the jail and academy organized an army made up of capable students to combat the revolutionary army that had caused a revolution in the south and was approaching the capital city. This resolved the emergency and pushed the revolutionary army back to the south. This group of students was later called the State Guardians. Lyoncio then suggested that since most academies have started to form training missions for students to sign up for, the training mission can be changed into supporting Shining Gold City, and the rewards increased. Kinyu is surprised by this idea and commends him. Lyoncio further says that Lord Yunsheng would be needed to dampen the benumbing qi inside King Wang and Dashing. Lyonsheng reasons that this is a great idea, as it would bring many of the strongest warriors in Tianshui to Kinyu's side. Lyoncio tells Kinyu not to fear, as he already has 3 martial kings supporting him. Kinyu wonders who the third person is, and that's when Lyonsheng reveals that he has already stepped into the 5 Elements realm and become a martial king. Kinyu is delighted with Lyoncio and asks if he will be his brother after becoming the king, a very esteemed honor for anyone. However, they all are shocked when he declines and says they should discuss it later. The prince still suggests that he will announce it after he ascends the throne, but Lyoncio tells him he is not interested and never to mention it again, which shocks all of them. Lyoncio completes a statement that Lai Chunying made, and Jimeng repeats and suddenly breaks through to a martial lord realm. Commander Bai is shocked as Jimeng just started following Lyoncio not long. Lyoncio tells Jimeng that he will have Jirong prepare some pills for him to further break through into the martial king realm. They'd all disperse to attend to different tasks regarding what they had just discussed. Lyoncio and Lai Chunying returned to the Lai family's residence to make preparations towards the emperor, allowing them to mobilize forces. Meanwhile, Qin Yang is angry with Lai Yi that he failed even with all the support of the warriors he had. Lai Yi states that it was all because Lyoncio and Jimeng were insurmountable. Qin Yang is surprised to hear this, since Lyoncio and Jimeng had lower cultivation than his men. Lai Yi tells him that Jimeng suddenly had the strength of a martial lord after taking a pill, and Lyoncio had a third-tier Xuan weapon and do secret techniques. Even Go Feng confirms that there is something strange about Lyoncio, as they had a perfect plan to kill Kinyu that night when Lyoncio won Jimeng over to his side. However, Lai Yi assures Qin Yang that their plans are still proceeding perfectly, as the whole country will be under his control when the Golden Lion Army returns to the capital and gathers with the Central Army. Qin Yang asks what if Lyoncio treats King Wang, but Lai Yi assures him that his master will send experts and he won't survive. Lai Yi leaves, and Prince Qin Yang and Go Feng begin to talk about Jireni, Tianshui's top scholar. Go Feng tells him that arrangements have been made regarding Lai Chunyang's disregard for the country's laws. Qin Yang hopes this will get public against the Lai family and bring them on his side. At the Lai family residence, Lyoncio and Chunying return and meet a group of scholars protesting against Chunyang's actions. Chunying becomes scared of them because Jireni is a descendant of a saint, the idol of scholars whom even the former king respected dearly. Killing these scholars would drag the Lai family's reputation into the mud. However, Lyoncio thinks that if Jireni can show up now, he must have something with Prince Qin Yang, so he decides to clean them all up. He moves closer to them and sees a grand qi of justice condensed from their union, so he sees this as a great supplement for his cultivation. He immediately starts to absorb the qi. On seeing this, the scholars begin to increase the density of their qi so it could kill him, not knowing it would only make him stronger. Lyoncio pretends he is being affected by it, so they can be motivated to continue increasing the density. After a while, they collapse to the ground out of exhaustion, and Lyoncio appears unscathed, having reached a mid-level 7 stars martial warrior. The scholars are surprised and wonder how he is still very fine and appears stronger. They are shocked when they discover he was using their grand qi of justice to make a breakthrough in cultivation. He then threatens to kill them for surrounding the Lai family with malicious intentions. One of the scholars dares him to kill them, claiming that they are of saintly principles, and he'd be in great trouble if he did. Lyoncio scares him by faking as though he wants to kill him, and they all begin to plead for their lives. Lyoncio then gives them a recitation to repeat all across the capital, asking them to insult Soverign with excitement, otherwise he'd kill them. He and Chunying head to the Lai family's secret chamber to see Dashing. After checking Dashing, Lyoncio gives him his pill, and he faints. Dashing wakes up soon after, sad that he fainted again like usual. However, Lyoncio tells him to try to stand up, and he is shocked. Dashing tells him that he hasn't stood in 5 years, but he becomes surprised when he begins to feel his legs again. He is excited and asks him how he did it. Lyoncio tells him that it is a temporary cure, and they would need extreme chi to help him fully recover. Dashing stands up for the first time in 5 years, and Chunying hugs him with excitement and tears in his eyes. Lyoncio breaks the ice by telling him he must command an army in a few days. Dashing can't believe his ears and thinks it's a joke, but Chunying confirms it is true. Dashing accepts and tells Chunying he'd do whatever he is told. Then, Chunying challenges Lyoncio about emptying the Lai family's treasures that have been saved for 100 years. Chunying retrieves little from him, telling him he would return for more. They head to the meeting hall, and King Wang is shocked to see Dashing. He thought he had died from the benumbing poison 5 years ago. King Wang discovers that it was Lyoncio that cured him. Lyoncio tells him it is temporary and would need extreme yang qi from Yunsheng for a full recovery. Lyoncio shows King Wang the pills he refined, and he is shocked that Lyoncio could refine second-tier pills. Lyoncio promises to repay Lord Yunsheng with any amount she wants if she can help King Wang and Dashing. She replies that there is no need for reimbursement since King Wang and Dashing are important pillars of the country, and helping them is within her duties. However, she requests that he will play the Guangling Odyssey. The meeting ends and Lyoncio goes into seclusion to cultivate. Lyoncio wonders why he hasn't broken through to become a martial master, and is still stuck as a mere 7-star martial warrior even after absorbing Meng Bai's poison and the grand chi of hundreds of scholars. He starts cultivating. He activates the monument he got from the Lai family's secret vault. He soon discovers that he can train his body and soul simultaneously. After a while, he generates so much power and absorbs all of it, which causes him to start expanding and be at risk of combusting. He starts to consider the limitations of his body and almost thinks of giving up, but he gives up that thought and continues with it until he breaks through to the 8-star martial warrior level. Chunying calls for an emergency, and when he sees Lyoncio, he is shocked. He is surprised that he has advanced to become an 8-star martial warrior in just 2 days after becoming a mid-level 7-star martial warrior. He then tells him that Jiareni was furious about what happened with his scholars. He gathered all the instructors at the Imperial Academy, waiting for the Lai family to take responsibility. Chunying tells Lyoncio that he ran away after seeing them. Lyoncio asks why he is scared of them and tells him that, as martial artists, they only believe in strength and care less about reputation. This makes Chunying realize that he has just been a coward ever since, and he aims to leave everything aside after Kinyu's matter is solved to focus on training. Lyoncio and Chunying proceed to the Imperial Palace, and when the guards would not let them in, Lyoncio kills them. Lyoncio announces from outside the palace that he needs to inform the king about emergency matters pertaining to the military. The palace officials see this as rudeness, and the commander of the palace guards, Jing Feibai, launches an attack on him. Lyoncio avoids the attack, and Chunying immediately dashes at Jing Feibai and kills him instantly, shocking everyone. The other guards block them, and Lyoncio continues to shout that he has urgent military intelligence to report to the king. A few moments later, the king tells them to come in, and when they walk towards the central palace, the Imperial Academy Grand Mentors block him and begin to protest against them. Lyoncio observes the chi they generated, and he is disappointed as the amount is lesser than the other scholars from earlier. He unsheaths his sword and kills some of them. They become shocked and clear the way for them. On getting to the palace, Jiareni tells the king that he has to kill them for killing the palace officials. He tells the king that he killed them because he respects the law. Kinyang interrupts him and says that murder must be punished with death. Lyoncio asks Kinyang if he knows the law, to which he replies yes. Lyoncio then asks for the Ministry of Personnel and asks him what the punishment for blocking someone with urgent military intelligence is. The Ministry of Personnel replies that it is death, Everyone in the palace realized that this was why Lyoncio said he had urgent military intelligence to report to the king. Lyoncio justifies all his killings with the law and even implicates Jereni. Chumiang is shocked at how he settled everything and wonders if this is really his grandson. The king punishes Jereni's nephew and pardons Jereni because of his accomplishments in the past. However, Lyoncio doesn't accept and protests that the law should affect Jereni too, as no one is above the law, even the prince. Jereni accuses Lyoncio of mocking the king's imperial pardon. He says Lyoncio doesn't regard the king, and Lyoncio declares that he doesn't. The entire officials present in the palace become shocked. However, Lyoncio finds a way to maneuver himself out of a seeming offense and put all the blame on Jereni's, saying Jereni defied the imperial edict and sought to take the throne. Jereni gets very angry and soon falls and dies. On seeing this, Lyoncio seeks forgiveness from the king since he has shown remorse with his death. The king pardons Jereni, and they carry his dead body out of the palace for a befitting funeral. The king then asks Lyoncio about the urgent military intelligence he killed the guards for. Lyoncio tells the king that they have lost Beitou town. The 100 Battles country has besieged Kunshan city, and reinforcements must be sent immediately. The king is shocked that this was the information they called urgent, as he was already aware of it. Qin Yang says Lyoncio must be killed for killing the imperial officials over outdated information. The king tells Lyoncio that Kunji city's army is enough to guard the city, so he thinks the reinforcement request is fake. Lyoncio replies that the request could be true, and this could cause Tianshui to lose all its 13 cities. One of the imperial court officers says that Lyoncio is exaggerating the situation because his father is stuck. Lyoncio draws out his sword and threatens to kill him. Qin Yang sees this and tells his father, the king, to sentence Lyoncio to death for threatening a minister. This angers Chunyang, and he hits Qin Yang. Lyoncio manages to convince the king, and he orders Li Chunyang to lead the army as general and select troops from the central army. However, Chunyang tells the king that his body has weakened over the past few years, but he will find someone dependable to fill the role. They all leave the imperial court. Qin Yu tells Lyoncio that the student tryouts for the army have started in Jilin Academy and asks if he would love to watch them. Lyoncio agrees, and they head to the place. Meanwhile, at the Jilin Academy during the sign-up, the teachers refuse to let Meng Bai sign up for the tryouts, saying it's a privilege only for those enrolled in the academy, and also that Meng Bai is too green for malnourishment. Meng Bai starts to make a fuss and says he will bring his master. The teacher asks who his master is, and Lyoncio, who has just arrived, replies that it is him. Meng Bai is excited to see him and complains that they would not let him sign up. Everyone is shocked that Lyoncio is his master, and they are surprised to see Prince Qin Yu and Chunying. Qin Yu admonishes everyone, and they all become more motivated to sign up. Commander Bai later comes with a report that over 2,000 students signed up, which includes martial masters and martial warriors. Qin Yu is excited as these students would be important pillars of the country's future. Zhang Lishan comes to admonish them and gives the stage to Qin Yu to say a few words to them. Qin Yu tells them the rewards of participating in the battle and says Lyoncio will be their commander. Two students, Bai Chengfeng and Lin Yu, protest against it and say they will only accept it if he can win them in a fight. Lyoncio tells them he will fight both of them at the same time. Everyone is shocked and thinks he is insane for wanting to fight two martial masters simultaneously. Even Luo Landuo, who has always called him trash, is present to watch him. Lin Yu launches an attack using the tiger and dragon spear technique, but Lyoncio blocks it easily with the concealed tiger fist, the technique Meng Bai has always wanted to learn. Everyone is shocked, and Lin Yu attacks with an even more advanced technique, and Lyoncio blocks it again with the immortal golden body without dodging the attacks. This shocks everyone, and Landuo begins to feel bad that she used to push him away, and now he is way more powerful than she is. Bai Chengfeng and Lin Yu then attack with maximum power. Lyoncio blocks it with the Lotus Sword Song technique. He decides it's his turn to attack. He launches his attack and defeats them in one move, which shocks everyone and leaves them speechless. The next day, everyone gathers at the army assignment field. King Wang announces with a loud voice that sounds across Tianshui that all the state guardians should report immediately. After hearing the loud voice, everyone perceives that King Wang has been cured. All the state guardians start to report one by one until they are all complete. King Wang makes an order that all the 124 generals of the Central Army should be executed for disregarding the king's orders. Qin Yang protests against this, and King Wang says he will be executed, being one of the generals too. Qin Yang becomes scared, and he is captured, ready for execution. Ga Feng quickly heads to the king to get a decree for his safety. Qin Yu wonders if ascending the throne really means that he is above all, since an official like King Wang could just order the death of his brother. King Wang orders their execution, but Ga Feng arrives just in time with a decree from the king. He reads out that the king has given all the generals a chance to atone for their crimes, even though they refuse the mobilization order of the king. The king also writes that Qin Yang will be given 100 lashes as an example. However, King Wang still orders that all the generals be executed except Qin Yang, who will receive 500 lashes instead of 100. All the other generals are executed, and King Wang orders the 124 vice-generals to report immediately. He leaves and allows Chunying to continue from there. Chunying announces that Dashing will be the mission's commander, and everyone is shocked to see him. Lin sees his father, and both of them start to sob. Dashing receives the commander's seal and assigns roles to the people in charge of each troop. Lyoncio is made the chief of logistics, who will be in charge of the 2,000 students and also would protect the supplies. They all set out immediately. After a while, Lyoncio inquires about the next city they are headed to and how much it will take to reach there, and he is told it will take 10 days to reach Sunshore City. Dashing asks him what he thinks of the troops, and he answers shabbily. Dashing tells him that the students don't have life experiences of battles, so their killing intent is low compared to the main troops who have experienced life and death. Lyoncio takes up a challenge and swears a military oath, putting his head on the line that the students will emit more killing intent than all the soldiers in 10 days, and if he wins, he will take up the position of commander-in-chief, while Dashing will do the odd jobs for him. He jumps off to join the vehicle containing the students. Dashing heads to the basement to meet Yunsheng and King Wang. She tells him that the method Lyoncio gave her for their treatment is also helping her strengthen her extreme yang qi while suppressing the frost qi in their bodies. Dashing tells her not to bring that up as he will beat him till he's half crippled in 10 days, but King Wang tells him he won't get the chance to do that. Lyoncio tells his friends about the oath, and they tell him that it's not possible as killing intent is only increased in the face of real battles. Lyoncio tells them he will just make the students experience a real battle. He then commands that the students advance at full speed and arrive at Sunshore City in 4 days so that he can train them for the remaining 6 days. 3 days later, they arrive at the outskirts of Sunshore City at night, and all the students are exhausted from running for 3 days straight. Lyoncio draws a formation on the ground with Han Bai and Chen Zhen's help. He activates the formation and tells them it will help them become a true warrior in a short time. He heads back to the vehicle and sits down to start the training. He then sees his friends, Meng Bai and his sister, still in the vehicle. He stands up and pushes them out too. Chumeng decides to join too, but Lyoncio stops him as he has the cultivation of a martial lord, and his ocular skills can't control his mind, unlike the others. Zhirong recognizes the formation to be the Thousand Hallucinations formation. Lyoncio tells Jimeng to protect them while he and Zhirong cultivate. Meanwhile, in the forest, a student named Zhang Tao sees a beast wolf emerge from a tree, and it begins to chase him. He turns and tries to fight it, but the beast chops off one of his arms and runs away. Zhang Tao gets angry, chases the beast, and attempts to attack it, but it chops his second arm and runs away. He wonders why the beast did not kill him and ties up his wounds. He thinks that he won't be able to practice martial arts again and will not have the chance to get into Jilin Academy. He heads back home and sees his family molested and harassed by some men. He becomes angry and attempts to fight them, but they beat him up since he has lost 2 arms. While beating him, Zhang Tao becomes very angry and suddenly feels strong. His arms immediately grow out back, and he sees 2 swords in his hands. His killing intent rises and he starts to attack them viciously. The hallucination effect wears off, and all the students realize that they have been hallucinating. They all start to cry from the terrifying situations they all face in the hallucinations. The next day, the students begin cultivating, and 3 days later, the god-slaying finger condenses from their strong killing intent. Lyoncio decides to take a walk in the city while the students continue to train. He takes Zhirong, Meng Bai, and his sister with him. Jimeng admires Lyoncio for entering the 8-star martial warrior realm in a very short period. On getting to the gate of Sunshore City, the guards stop them and demand that they pay before they are allowed to enter. Zhirong protests against it, but the guard insists they pay. However, another guard taps him and whispers some things in his ears, after which he allows them to enter. As they walk into the city, they discuss the corruption in the city and how Kinyu will correct them after he takes the throne. They head to the city's largest pharmacy to buy herbs. Lyoncio orders 10 sets of some common herbs, but he is told only 8 sets of ancient orchid leaves are left. Lyoncio tells him it is fine, but as he is about to collect it, Wu Guang takes it and says he will take it instead. The seller tells him that Lyoncio has bought it already, and Wu Guang tells Lyoncio to give him the herbs in Manhwa, and he will pay any price he names. Lyoncio asks him if he can afford his price, and Wu Guang tells the seller to tell Lyoncio who he is. The seller reveals that he is the son of the Lord of Sunshore City, while the man behind him is Lord Zhang Tai, a high-class refining disciple. Lyoncio asks Zhang Tai whose student he is, and Zhang Tai replies that he follows Zhirong of the Alchemists Association, not knowing he is standing before him. Zhirong is shocked. He says he is not directly Zhirong's disciple, but is a close friend of one of his disciples. Wu Guang cuts the talk and asks how much they'd want for the herbs and the girl. Lyoncio replies that he wants their heads and orders Zhirong, Meng Bai, and Meng Wu to beat them up. After finishing beating them, they head out of the pharmacy. Wu Guang immediately fires a signal to get back up for his revenge. The team leader, Bai Bingbei, realizes that the 4 are martial warriors, with Lyoncio at the peak 8-star level. He reasons that they are from a strong background and that he should not take the risk of capturing them. However, Wu Guang pressures him to beat them up and send the girl to his room. Bai Bingbei asks them to call their superiors, and Lyoncio uses the cloud-piercing arrows, the highest-grade military signal, which calls all his 2,000 students at once. On seeing the troop arrive, Bai Bingbei becomes afraid that he has provoked someone he was not supposed to. The city lord, Wu Lianshan, arrives, and he is shocked to see that the entire troop is full of kids. Wu Guang complains to him about them, and Wu Lianshan disciplines him instead and apologizes to Lyoncio. Lyoncio suggests that they find somewhere to talk. Wu Lianshan leads him to his residence. At his residence, Wu Lianshan is excited to hear that Lyoncio is dignified and on an assignment for the country. Lyoncio requests him, and Wu Lianshan tells him he doesn't have to be polite since everyone is doing their part for the country. Lyoncio tells him that he and the other 2,000 came about preparations, so he hopes they can get some supplies from him. Wu Lianshan quickly replies that he is short on supplies too, and Lyoncio says he could help with some of his wealth. Wu Lianshan says he doesn't have much savings as he has always cared about people and acted honestly. He then declares that he will skimp and save to fund them with 10,000 gold coins. However, Lyoncio tells him that that's so generous of him, but they don't need 10,000 gold coins, and he would have some of his men come to pick a few things by themselves. After a while, Han Bai and Chen Zhen enter, and they tie him and his subordinate up before the students troop in to carry some treasures from the house. They discover that Wu Lianshan has amassed a lot of treasures, even more than the entire Lai family. Wu Lianshan tells them they cannot touch some treasures as they belong to Qin Yang. This gives Lyoncio more reason to touch the treasures anyway. Han Bai asks Lyoncio if he should kill Wu Lianshan and his subordinate, but Lyoncio refuses, frees him, and they all leave. Wu Lianshan orders his men to send letters to Prince Qin Yang immediately to send reinforcements to attack them. One of his men whispers that General Kang is around, and Wu Lianshan tells him to immediately report what happened to him. While Lyoncio talks to his students, they begin to hear the thumpings of soldiers approaching them. Han Bai observes that something is wrong since the defense brigade of Sunshore City only has about 5,000 men, and this army consists of a lot more than that, with 100,000 men at least. They soon discover it is the Golden Lion Army. Kang Liken, the Golden Lion Army general, challenges them, but Lyoncio mocks them for losing control over the Whitehead town, which angers Kang Liken. He sees Jimeng, a martial lord, and wonders who they are. Jimeng calls out to him, and Kang Liken recognizes him. He is shocked that Jimeng has become a martial lord. He asks Jimeng why they are robbing Wu Lianshan when they are all under Prince Qin Yang. But Jimeng tells him that he is no longer serving the eldest prince. Lyoncio tells Kang Liken that he is the head of logistics of the East Army advancing, and they came to gather supplies to which Wu Lianshan gladly gave all his worth. The Golden Lion Army had received information that the capital ordered the Central Army to rescue the Shining Gold City. However, Kang Liken wonders why they are this small. Soon, Lai Yi appears and whispers in Kang Liken's ears. Liken immediately orders that they capture them immediately and kill those that refuse. Lyoncio orders his students to disperse and kill them off, and they start to slay many of the Golden Lion Army soldiers. Kang is shocked and wonders how there is an army that contains only martial warriors. However, he reasons that they won't be able to handle the 400,000 soldiers surrounding them. Lyoncio then orders his students to get into formation, use the killing intent technique, and charge toward the south. The students enter formation immediately, and their killing intent condenses and attacks the Golden Lion Army. The Golden Lion Army tries to block it with their lion chi but fails. Lai Yi orders that they should target Lyoncio first to break the formation. Kang Liken dashes toward Jimeng while Lai Yi tells his accomplices to attack and kill Lyoncio. Lyoncio joins the student in charging toward the south, and the two martial lords of Lai Yi chase after him. They launch attacks on Lyoncio, but he uses the Golden Lion Army soldiers to shield himself. Lai Yi then orders the martial lords to attack Lyonccio's companions to lure him out. Guang, one of Lai Yi's martial lords, attacks Changfeng and slashes him with his spear. Lin Yu quickly runs to meet him, and Lyoncio intervenes to combat Guang. Lyoncio tells Lin Yu to retreat and take Changfeng to Jiran for treatment while he faces the enemy. Lyoncio and Guang begin to fight, and Lyoncio realizes that he might die at the pace of this fight. Lyonccio's students see Lyoncio holding off Guang alone, so they decide to assist him. They start to charge back toward Lyoncio and Guang, still using the killing intent technique. Jimeng and Kang Liken continue to fight, and Liken fears Jimeng might take him down. Zhirong announces to everyone that the reinforcements have arrived while he treats Changfeng. Lai Yi, watching the fight, tells Yu, the second martial lord, to assist Guang in killing Lyoncio, but just as he attempts to attack Lyoncio, the god-slaying finger condenses from the student's killing intent and kills Yu immediately. Everyone is shocked. All the students become exhausted. The god-slaying finger used up their Yuan Qi in killing intent. Lai Yi becomes angry and dashes at Lyoncio. They all hear King Wang's voice from a distance, and Lyoncio intends to hold them down till King Wang arrives, while Lai Yi intends to kill him before King Wang arrives. Lai Yi and Guang attack Lyoncio together, but Lyoncio blocks all the attacks. He then uses the 4 quadrants elements, and everyone is shocked as only 4 quadrants realm martial lords can use it. Lai Yi also swallows the demonification pill and turns into a demon with power equal to a martial king. As Lyoncio starts to gather all the elements together, Yunqing sees nothing else but Gu Faiyang's demeanor in him. A cloud palm forms and hits Lai Yi to the ground and completely defeats him. Lyoncio falls from the sky exhausted. They ask if he is fine, and he says he will be fine if Yunqing hugs him. They had to check the palm dent on the ground to see what happened to Lai Yi, and to there, they don't see him but see a different person there instead, already dead. They wonder how he escaped because none saw him escaping, and they are sure the palm hit him. Dashing asks Lyoncio how they should deal with the Golden Lion Army, and Kang Liken begins to justify his actions, saying he was only carrying out his duty as the general. Kang Liken asks them who gave them the authority to punish him, and Lyoncio tells Jimeng to deal with him. Jimeng attempts to execute him on Lyonccio's orders, and Kang Liken pleads for his life, swearing to pledge his loyalty to the fullest as a martial lord of the 4 quadrants realm if they don't kill him. Dashing thinks Kang Liken can be an asset to them in the future, but Lyoncio orders his execution anyway, saying a martial lord has yet to scratch the surface on the path of martial arts. Everyone is shocked. Dashing calls up the vice commanders of the Golden Lion Army and gives them the responsibility of being in charge of the army. He tells them to make up for their mistakes and protect their homeland. Meanwhile, Wu Lianxian is unaware that Kang Liken has been killed. He asks his subordinates if Kang Liken can retrieve all his wealth. Someone comes in with the information that the Golden Lion Army has returned, and Wu Lianxian excitedly prepares to leave his residence and take revenge on Lyoncio and his students. However, Lyoncio crosses him and kills him immediately. He tells Commander Bai Bingbei to take over the admin matters of the Sunshore City temporarily. At the main commander's tent in the Central Army, Dashing, Ting Wang, Yansheng, and others meet to discuss Lyoncio. They wonder if he is human as he was able to teach a secret killing intent technique to the 2,000 students and could use the wind and cloud palm technique, which is only characteristic of Gu Faiyang and his disciples. They consider who his master could be among Gu Faiyang's 5 disciples, However, Yunsheng suggests his master must be Gu Fiang himself. Dashing doubts the possibility of that, saying Gu Fiang died 15 years ago. Yunsheng replies that no one in Chanshui can ever kill him, so he must have just suffered from major injuries and ended up in Chanshui somehow. She adds that he must have also become Lyoncion's teacher by chance. King Wang says that it means Gu Fiang is currently hiding in Chanshui. If the public finds out, he says this would put a big risk to Gu Fiang's life, Chanshui, and the whole Dusk Flame Empire. Yunsheng warns that she would personally destroy anyone that leaks information about Gu Fiang to the public, and they all agree to keep it a secret. Someone comes to report that they will be arriving at Goodwater City soon. He asks if they should pass through it or go around it. Dashing considers that the city lord there works for Qin Yang, and they would not like to cause any commotion, so he says they should go around it. However, Jimeng arrives with a word from Lyoncio, asking that they allow Jimeng and the student army to go and ask for some supplies in Goodwater City. Dashing permits them. Jimeng and the student army enter Goodwater City while the city lord, Zhao Hongguang, accepts his 27th concubine. Jimeng announces they have come to ask for supplies and tells them to continue the ceremony while they take the supplies themselves. The student army immediately begins to loot the city and quickly takes their leave. Zhao Hongguang becomes angry and orders his men to follow them. But Jimeng makes a hit that cuts a building in half and prevents them from coming after the student army. On returning, Dashing and some other commanders discover they acquired a lot of money and treasures from the robbery, which Jimeng tells them isn't even up to the 10th of what they got from Sunshore City. They are shocked and decide they will rob all the cities of the eldest prince on their way too. They loot many cities over the next few days, and the report reaches Qin Yang that Dashing and King Wang have been looting his cities. He is angry and disturbed that he is losing control over many things since Lyoncio entered the scene. Gaofeng calms him and tells him they still have a trump card to use, which will favor them no matter how many people side with Qin Yu. The Central Army arrives at Eternal Peace City, a small city on the outskirts of the Shining Gold City. Yuan Zijin, the city lord, welcomes them and tells them that the citizens have already fled, turning the city into a ghost town with nobody in it. Lyoncio joins the meeting late, and they are surprised to see him. They tell him he ought to be resting, but Lyoncio tells them he is in charge of logistics, so he has to be in the meeting. Lyoncio is surprised by how Yunsheng relates to and attends to him, and he wonders if she already knows his identity. He also suspects the look on everyone's face. They start to discuss the situation around the 100 Battles country. Dashing says there is something off about them, as 100 Battles country has not made any moves since they heard about the Central Army's march towards the Shining Gold City. He adds that it only means that the 100 Battles country is not afraid of them and is waiting to take them down as they arrive. Han says it doesn't make any sense, but Lyoncio tells them the 100 Battles country may have elite soldiers capable of taking all of them at once. He later says that he doesn't think the goal of the 100 Battles country is to take land and cities. Dashing agrees with Lyoncio and immediately sends officers to go and spy on them and gather information. The meeting ends and Yunsheng sees Lyoncio off to his place. On getting there, he tells her she can return now, but she refuses, saying she hasn't found a place yet and would love to stay. Lyoncio is shocked. He tries to prevent her from staying, but Mengwu overhears them and offers that Yunsheng can stay with her, making Lyoncio very uncomfortable. Yunsheng heads into the building and asks Lyoncio to follow her, as she has something to ask him. Lyoncio enters first, while Yunsheng follows after. She shuts and locks the door, and Lyoncio wonders what she intends to do. She does the noise cancellation seal that prevents others from eavesdropping. A lot begins to run through Lyonceo's mind. He thinks she wants to sleep with him forcefully. He attempts to help her remove her clothes, and she becomes surprised. She becomes furious and hits him with her weapon, but he barely manages to resist it. She leaves angrily, saying he would have died if not because he is Gu Fiang's disciple. Lyoncio focuses on cultivating for the next few days. He realizes that although he was injured by Yunsheng some days back, his body absorbed the extreme yang qi from her, which was beneficial for his injuries. He continues cultivating and realizes he must refine new pills and needs to start collecting the necessary ingredients. Suddenly, he notices that his godly evolution technique has disappeared from the monument of the world god and wonders what is happening. He becomes shocked when he sees the true soul phoenix, a mythical creature he has never seen before, not even in his previous life. He doubts and thinks it's the shadow of the phoenix instead, as true souls cannot be trapped in such an artifact. However, he still is surprised and wonders what is happening. Jimeng comes to call him, and they head to the meeting hall. Dashing tells him that they sent 5 batches of scouts and have lost contact with all of them. He adds the last 2 batches were equipped with cloud-piercing arrows, so they could send signals if they were in danger, but they also never returned and lost contact. Lyoncio says his prediction that the 100 Battles country army is not scared of them is true, and they're just blindly waiting for them. Lyoncio says they must have set up an array encompassing a wide area, including all 3 towns. Someone suddenly comes to report that a strange phenomenon has appeared in the sky towards the south, and they all rush to check it. They are shocked. King Wang and Dashing order that they send 800,000 soldiers as a distraction to prevent the 100 Battles country from getting this treasure that has appeared in Tianshui. However, Lyoncio thinks they should approach cautiously, as the 100 Battles country definitely has something up their sleeves. He says they must scout the area again and offers to go alone. Yunsheng disagrees vehemently, and King Wang offers to follow him. However, Lyoncio objects, saying he needs to be with Yunsheng, so she can always suppress his poison for him. He says Jimeng should follow him instead, but Yunsheng still objects that he goes. He then uses the private sound transmission technique to communicate something to her, after which she calms. He and Jimeng head towards Sovereign Phoenix Town, and on their way, Lyoncio uses the demon moon detection technique to scan the town. He discovers that the situation is more complex than he imagined, as there is no single living person in the whole town, and the corpses of the people are deformed. They realize that the town has been put under a barrier, which is why none of the signals of the scouts came out. They enter the town and see that all the citizens are dead. They discover that the deaths were not caused by humans, but by some monsters. Suddenly, first-tier monster nasal bugs appear and start to approach them. Lyoncio tells Jimeng that they are low in power, but make up for it in numbers. They can mass reproduce where corpses are numerous. This suggests why the 100 Battles country destroyed the town, to breed the monsters. They start to fight the bugs, and after a while, they eliminate all of them, and the strongest of the nasal bugs appear. Lyoncio and Jimeng then join forces and kill the bug quickly. Meanwhile, on Phoenix Mountain, some powerful guys are gathered together, including Yaxiotian, the one who injured King Wang. The least among these people is a martial lord. Will Lyoncio and Jimeng meet them? That'd really be dangerous. Let us know if you want the next part in the comment section. Also, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. See you guys in the next video.